Hello YouTube, and welcome back to part 9 of Project Iona. This should be a shorter video. I don't have a lot of parts to take off of Iona like I did in Project 8. I'm not taking the whole front off of the car. I'm not taking all the hoses and clamps and everything to get the radiator out. If you haven't pieced it together, this video is more about the nuance of the electrical system. There is nothing that is going to grind your V8 5-liter Autobahn kilometer eating machine faster to a grinding halt than this little piece right here. This is the voltage regulator for a Bosch Alternator. Mercedes used external voltage regulators from late 60s, early 70s up through the late 90s, and this one has gone bad. There's two little brushes that ride on the shaft of the alternator that create voltage. This one is set at a 14 volt voltage regulator. This sends voltage to the battery, and when these start going bad and these brushes start not making contact, a lot of weird electrical gremlins start happening inside your W140, and that's what happened to me on the way home. She started acting real funky, started getting a lot of lights on the gauges, and she started not wanting to run right, so I knew something was wrong. Put a voltmeter on the battery and saw that I had low voltage, so this is the culprit. I took off the dust cover. Very important that you put these back on because the way the dust cover sits, it covers the internal voltage regulator that rides on the shaft of the alternator to create voltage, so it keeps dust out of these areas of the alternator, and dust really makes these wear a lot faster. So the original part number from Bosch is 119731122, but the new part number, cross-referenced already, is 19872370075. I have not opened it up yet, so let's go ahead and take a look and make sure that this is exactly the same thing as the old one. I got this one from FCP Euro. All their parts have lifetime warranties. As I've said it once, I'm gonna say it a million times, I plan on keeping Iona for the long run. So here is our new voltage regulator that is identical to the one that came off, and you can see the difference in how long those brushes are. Literally two Phillips bolts hold it on to the back of the alternator, and three little Phillips screws hold the cover on, and that's it. That's pretty much the entire job. So let's go ahead and hop on the car, and we'll get this bad boy put back on. So as it turns out, the voltage regulator on the alternator was bad. The original part number is 119731122. I kind of went over this. It turns out that the alternator was bad itself, and I thought about what am I going to do. I can look at FCP Euro, I can look at Auto House, I can get one, go through the trouble of taking the pulley off the old alternator. And mind you, the old alternator was in about as good a condition as this voltage regulator. So I said, no, I'm going to go ahead and source a local shop and see if a local shop can rebuild the alternators. So I did that, and a big shout out to Hutcherson Electric, Hutcherson Automotive in Tampa, because I got an early holiday gift. Early Christmas gift from them, and this is the original believe it or not, this is the original alternator that was in Iona. It is completely rebuilt. They tore it down, took it apart, and completely put it back together for me, and you can see that the new voltage regulator is in there. Everything, new bearings, the whole kit and caboodle looks brand new, and I really want to say a thanks to them for effectively restoring this part for me for Project Iona, which we're going to go ahead and put back on Iona now. Kind of in reverse order. I didn't plan on taking this out. I had it in and out 5 times to make sure it was the voltage regulator or the commutator was touching and all the different parts. Turns out it was the diodes and the whole diode pack, which allows the alternating current of the diode only allows it to go one way. So it turns it into direct current, and these cars are 12-volt DC systems. So thankful they had it for roughly 2 days, 2 business days. Got it back today, and let's go ahead and put what appears to be a brand new alternator back in Iona. For everyone who's watching, I just want to point out a few things. I've got my Quick Jack 7000 XL 7,000 pound Quick Jack system holding up Iona, and I've got 4 6-ton jack stands underneath her as well to make sure that we're safe. So just, you know, I talk about safety. It's really important if you're ever going to be working on cars, working alone in your shop, that, you know, safety is paramount in everything we do. So just pointing that out. Keen observers will notice that I have taken the bolts for the front sway bar out and dropped the sway bar. I dropped the sway bar because I really didn't want to take the radiator hose out for access to the alternator, because there really is no other way that I've found except from through the bottom on a W140 for the alternator. So that being said, bottom sway bar out, or the sway bar mount, sway bar down, and then area that I've made to pull the alternator out. This is the lower alternator mount, 17mm bolt. Here's the top mount for the alternator. A 13mm bolt goes up there. You can see the 13mm that goes up there. There is some interference between the oil filter housing, so the top of the alternator goes in first and then the bottom. If not, if you put the bottom in first, you're going to run some interference against the oil filter housing, the oil sending unit down low. So just put the top in first and then slide it over to the bottom, and you can kind of push the radiator out of the way to fit that bolt in. So let's go ahead and put that in now. All right. Go ahead and push our practically new alternator. Make sure the top goes in first. There it goes. We're going to slide it over and around. All right. And zero alignment. Let's see if we can first get the top bolt on. Wiggle it a little bit. All right, top bolt. A little bit of give, lift up bottom radiator. All right, and get the bottom one in. And get it finger tight first for the wrench on it. Make sure that the bottom one is aligned with the mount as well. for the transmission cooler line and go ahead and tighten them up. Alright, and top one is tight. Pull our socket back out and make sure our bottom is tight. So it takes 2 bolts for the alternator, and then there's 2 wires on the back side, the exciter wire and the main wire, and we'll go ahead and put those on, the main one that goes to the battery, and get it back together. All right, here we are on the back side of the alternator, and you're going to notice 2 posts. First, the smaller one is for the exciter wire. You have to have 12 volts going to the alternator for it to energize the magnet to go ahead and start creating electricity. So the exciter is on the bottom. It's an 8mm nut, and then on the top, the main post that goes back to the battery itself and gives the Iona most for electricity after the car starts. In fact, all the electricity after the car starts comes from this. The battery is unplugged, so we'll go ahead and put the main post, or B plus, on first, and then the bottom or exciter wire on the bottom. And after we get the main battery wire tight and the exciter wire tight, go ahead and put the battery in and see if she's putting out voltage. But we've got the main and the secondary tight, and we'll go ahead and put the battery in the starter and see if she's putting out voltage. All right, battery is holding at 12.49 volts, static. Trunk open, trunk lights running. We're gonna go ahead and start her up and see what voltage we get at the battery. Off camera, I buttoned up the lower sway bar, put the belt back on and the tensioner back in the correct place. So let's go ahead and see what she does when I turn her on. Alright, just started her up, 14.2 volts, 14.18, so she's bouncing around right at 14. Very happy with that. Exactly where she's supposed to be, and sounds good too. She was running so rough. These cars are so very heavy dependent on electric that anything near or around 12 volts is not how you want them to be running. So glad I got the alternator fixed and back in. And next thing is to take her for a test drive and make sure she continues to work and perform, and then see if there's anything else left to do to get her back on the road. And with a test drive around the block, and then through the neighborhood, and then on the main roads, and then to work, back and forth all week long, no more electrical issues with Project Iona. So a huge thanks to Hutcherson Auto Electric in Tampa for completely rebuilding the alternator on Iona. I thought it was the voltage regulator. Turns out it was the voltage regulator and the diode, so the full rebuild. So great work that those folks did for me, so I appreciate that greatly. That's it for part 9 for Project Iona. This is the last video that I filmed in 2022, so I really wanted to say thanks to everyone who's watched this year. Thank you for all of my subscribers. It's been fantastic to see the viewership grow. Thank you for everyone who left a comment. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to the channel. Please leave me a comment, and a lot more to come in 2023. As you see next to me, I've sourced from a recycled S500 a pair of black leather seats to restore, to put in Project Iona. I also have some paint. I need to try my hand at doing some paint work on the rear bumper for Iona. Beyond Project Iona, I have been looking at other project cars, so some things to come there. I've looked at 2 and turned down 2 because of major rust issues, but I'm on the hunt and looking for another S500 to work on. I've got a 96 and a 97, looking for a 98 and a 99 to round out the post facelift stable of W140s here for the garage. So with that, thank you everybody for watching. It has been a pleasure this year. Can't wait to see what's going to happen in 2023. And with that, everyone, thank you so much. Stay safe, and we'll see you again in the new year. Thank you all. Bye.